Hi, welcome to our channel, Ancient to Modern, where we try to bring an ancient text, in this case the New Testament, to life in our modern context. We've been going through the New Testament in recent weeks, and last week we talked about Paul's letter to the Corinthians, especially 1 Corinthians. A few days later, someone pulled me aside and asked me this question. What will we be like? And he was talking about us individuals. What will we be like in heaven? And I think that's a worthy topic because Paul talks about it in 1 Corinthians 15, and it was a big misunderstanding in his world as well. So we live in a culture that has a lot of bad ideas about that time. Oh, we've watched It's a Wonderful Life at Christmas. Every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings. We've talked about streets of gold and crowns and all this stuff that really does not flow at all from either the Bible or Christian tradition. And so we have a lot of maybe funny ideas. Even sometimes go to funerals. Well-meaning folks will get up and say, oh, I know that Aunt Margaret, she's up in heaven looking down on us now. And that is a nice sentiment. And there are people around the time the New Testament was written would have talked like that. But they would not have been the New Testament authors. They'd have been Greeks in their culture. Greeks thought the spirit lived on. In fact, they thought the spirit was the only thing that was good and it was the only thing that was valuable. Our bodies, not so much. They were limited and evil and part of this corrupt creation. We forget that God created us and called it good. Sometimes even good Christians talk and act as if this life is something that needs to be escaped, that needs to be gotten away from. And so we talk like this about someone looking down in heaven as if it's a separate place that's disconnected from this physical place. Now, when I was younger, I didn't really think about heaven that much. There was too much life that was ahead. One of the things I'm kind of moaning about today is I have a shoulder that's hurting. It's the one that hurts every now and then. And there are other things that kind of ache when you get to be my age. And so we start to think about what will come later with a little renewed vigor. Well, here's what Paul says. First of all, whatever the resurrection is, it's physical. For 2,000 years, Christianity has taught that we will have a bodily resurrection. We're not going to be a disengaged, disembodied spirit that just hovers and looks down. We're going to be able to be touched and be touched, hug and be hugged. I like what the prophet said in the Old Testament, we will run and not grow weary, we will walk and not grow faint. It will be a physical existence. Maybe one of the only guides we have is when Jesus himself was resurrected. He was still a physical presence. He hugged. He walked with his disciples. He was embraced. We also know that for some reason, sometimes it took a little bit for the disciples to recognize him. There was almost something a little different, but then they did. So here's what we know. And this isn't going to be helpful, but I'm going to share it anyway. We know this, that the New Testament describes the resurrection as a new heaven and a new earth. And Paul says in 1 Corinthians 15, it's like what is sown perishable will be raised imperishable. So right now at our house, if you look through my front yard, I literally have 200 little maple trees growing in my front yard right now. Well, the helicopters fell about 3 weeks ago, the seed for the maple tree fell face down or seed side down into the ground. It's been very wet. I don't need to tell you that. And now, a couple weeks later, I have all these maple trees growing. If they had been oak trees, if acorns had fallen, they'd be little oak trees. Everything needed to be a gigantic maple tree is in that little seed that we call helicopters. Everything it takes to make a gigantic oak tree is contained in a little acorn. An acorn will never turn to a maple tree. A helicopter will never turn into an oak tree. Well, what we will be is a continuity of what we are right now. So in the life to come at the resurrection, we will know and be known. It will be physical. We will walk and run and be embraced. But some of the things that impact us now, death, decay, disease, won't be present. I think the other thing that someone was asking was this. Here was part of this question. If we die as a baby, will we be resurrected as a baby? If we die at 95, will we be resurrected at 95? And that's part of the answer. The answer, I think, is clear, is no. We will not be part of the disease process that maybe killed the baby or the aging process that led to the death of a great-grandparent or someone like that. It will be very us. It will be very good and will not be subject to the things that impact us so much now. So the best way I've always come to describe it is this. Think of your special place that you love more than anything else. Some of you that I don't understand immediately go to the beach. I don't understand any of that, why sand and sunburn would be part of anybody's happy place, but you feel free to go there. Someone else, it might be a lake in the woods, or it might be the mountains. I have a couple places. Imagine that you're in that spot and it's perfect. It's the perfect weather. You're with all the people that you love. There's no deadlines. There's no decay. There's no disease. There's no tension. Those moments that you want time to just stand still because everything is just right. I think we get a little glimpse of what the resurrection will be like. In another place, Paul says it's like looking through a glass dimly. What we have now in those moments is just a down payment, a deposit on what will be. So think about it in that way. Not just a spirit existence where we drift and look down, but a fully physical, embodied resurrection. I think about one of my friends right now. One of my friends, I won't mention their name, they've had cerebral palsy for most of their life. I used to see them more often than I do right now. And often I'd see her and she'd be bruised up on her arms or her side, and I know that would be a week that she'd taken a fall. And I'd talk to her and I'd say, why don't you use a cane? And they'd say, because I don't want to. And I understand it. They didn't want to look different and be different. And this person, I admire them so much. They never in their life have ever taken a step without having to worry about balance. They've never known what it's like to just walk without having to think about it. They've never taken a running step in their life. They've never given like a full bear hug kind of hug to anyone. If you did that to them, it would hurt them. I'm thinking about what the resurrection's like for someone like that. Someone who will have a full restoration for the first time. Without a bodily resurrection, cancer wins. Death wins. Christian theology for 2,000 years has taught that when Jesus died and rose again, he gained victory over all of that, and we get to share in that. So I'm looking forward to that day. On a day like this, when this shoulder hurts more than it should, and another day when I got a leg that hurts more than it should, I'm looking forward to a day when I don't have to worry about any of that stuff. But I'm more looking forward to a day when all the people that I love and care about, we can exist without agendas and jealousies and all the things that cause pain and hurt and loss here. That's what the resurrection is all about. Corinthians gives us a little picture into it, if we'll just let it. Anyway, hope that helps. Hope that gives you a little bit of hope. Leave a comment. Like us. Subscribe to us. But we'll look forward to seeing you back in the future. Ask a question. We'll be happy to answer it. We'll see you soon.